We're back.
We're back.
So,
go ahead.
Well, a couple things. First off,
and we all have to abide by
happy holidays. Happy
Big T
Thanksgiving
Day.
Day, Turkey Day, gobble gobble, all that stuff.
Football. We got 3 games this Thursday.
That's awesome. Dude.
One of them one's on
They're
NFL
good games,
Network.
too. They're not
Yeah,
like
it's
just dumb games.
let's see. We got Green Bay and Detroit, Miami.
Yep.
Well, Miami and Dallas, which I
No,
don't know if that's going to be a good game.
No.
But
No, actually, it should be.
because I
Man,
thought it had to be.
Miami stepped up the last 2 weeks. Their defense has
Yeah.
actually played well. Their quarterback has actually produced stuff.
My mom hasn't taken
No, I'm not
it
saying.
since she
We'll get into some issues here later with about
Yeah.
the fact that Brandon Marshall is Mike's
Right.
only
was hurt.
And
offensive
I
weapon,
gotta talk-
including his quarterback.
I got to talk about that
That's
too.
a nightmare. But
But
anyway,
San
yeah,
Francisco and Baltimore.
I
they're third.
don't think that the Dallas and Miami game is going to be completely a wash, man.
I think San Francisco Baltimore is going to be the most exciting game.
And
For the simple fact you got the now #1 defense in the NFL going up against
It's not
the usually #1 defense in the NFL.
well,
the marriage.
here's the thing: you're looking at 3 matchups,
It's all-
which arguably would you normally look at before the season started. Going, okay, well, Dallas, Miami. Okay, well, Miami.
Yeah, it should be a wash.
Right? Dallas should be a
The
juggernaut.
way San Francisco played last season,
San
and
Francisco,
going into the season.
yeah, Alex Smith and Crabtree, and
Yeah.
in situations against Baltimore.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
they
you've got
won. It was just
yeah,
like they were
Rice, you've
Yeah.
got
Just like
Flacco,
so
you've
it
got
has
their
been.
defense.
Ray Lewis,
No
and the
matter
defense.
what.
So, I mean, all
my
this stuff,
father was
again,
Southern
should be a wash.
Baptist, right? Born and raised Southern
My
Baptist.
dad.
And
Met my father.
third game, we've got Detroit
And
and
Green Bay. who's-
and Green Bay.
Had to
Which,
do the
again, you
classes,
should
had to
think
do
that
everything,
Detroit
you know,
should be
That's how it
a
is.
wash,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
That's all.
so you're looking at now, all those 3 situations have completely flipped the script.
Yeah, because
Very much.
San
Detroit-
Francisco's playing
And
better than they
that's,
should.
very
Yeah.
Italian.
Detroit's got the powerhouse behind
Detroit
the
Detroit
snap.
has been playing phenomenal all year. I mean, from quarterbacks to running backs to wide receiver. I mean, you've got
They've had a defensive line. that's come
Miami
up with
has
a
stepped
bunch
up
of
in the last 2
turnovers.
weeks. Dallas
yeah.
has played well and then fallen short in the fourth quarter. So any one of those 3 games, it's gonna be a great Thanksgiving. Anyways, Matt props. Love you guys all. Happy Thanksgiving. We're gonna jump back into the numbers, but we're looking for a great Thanksgiving Day, and make sure you get your picks in because that Thursday game starts soon.
1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, it's noon. Noon is the first game here. 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
Eastern
but
time, or whatever.
we're basically 2 days out of
Yeah.
of having you pick your matchup.
Well, even less than that, because
For 3 days.
technically it's Wednesday
That's
morning.
my
So.
mom's like.
But now back into it.
Oh, but I can't.
CJ2K is one I wanted to talk about on trees. You know, he shows up one game, looks good, he's hopeful, and then flat out. Flat out.
And that, hey, by the way,
in the last 2 years.
John Boy.
last year, returning champion. You may be inbound. You may actually get you on the phone. We're trying to work something out. So we'll talk to you soon.
Keep watching.
What is happening?
But her Bengals defense, who was doing great for a better portion of the season, only put up 6 points for her.
Because we are supposed to be
You know, but they're also going up against Baltimore, which is a good team.
So
that actually came down to a field goal. The field goal won that game. So, I mean, you got to look at
Quarterback stepped up.
Quarterback
Quarterback stepped up. Baltimore is missing Lewis. Flacco fell a little bit short. So it was kind of like one of
Benson
those
got in the end zone twice, which he hasn't done all season.
defense and offense from Baltimore kind of came down a notch, and they stepped up.
Yep.
Picked up their game, and that actually turned it into a stellar game.
Yeah, it did. It was good. I watched that one. I had to.
It was great.
So
I was really impressed.
now
I was
the
really
one
impressed.
thing I was impressed
It
with
reminded me
was
of old Carson Palmer with the Cincinnati Bengals
Yeah.
when he was lighting it up for 5 touchdowns of the game.
Heck yeah. Now the one thing I wanted to talk about on hers that caught my attention is she went out and did her own survey and checked in on it and looked at this kid, Chris. I'm gonna call him Old Banana. I can't pronounce his last name. OGBA or BONYAYA, whatever. 22 points for a rookie running back. Came into the game for Cleveland and ran it.
Can you suffer?
22
And
points.
that's what we did.
I actually have down here,
No.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, that's why I call call him. I mean,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So he came in out of
Obi-Wan.
nowhere.
Obi-Wan. I got to call him Obi-Wan just because. I mean, now,
That's-
great
that's
day.
This is not the running back we're looking for.
This is
because of our choices or our choices.
Because he did. He ran all over it.
Here's the thing, though. They said to him, they said to everybody 3 weeks ago, hey, this player, he's going to be a replacement for Seth Benson and so on and so forth. But he hasn't stepped up to that
And we
point.
can't.
And this week,
We're being selfish.
yes, he showed up.
So it showed up great.
So,
So,
now you have to kind of like start looking at that and like, well, is he a viable start going forward?
Because it's not fair.
It's not fair.
yeah, I think he is. If
Are you drinking the Kool-Aid?
yeah,
Are
I'm
you drinking
drinking
Obi-Wan's
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid?
I'm drinking Obi-Wan's because man, I was looking at his matchups coming up. They play Cincinnati, I do believe, this week. The Cleveland Browns. Yeah, Cleveland and Cincinnati, and
Okay, but here's the thing.
Am I making
Deals.
Cleveland, although it's you always keep in the back of your
Take
head,
me.
Cleveland being
Take
Cleveland
me.
Browns.
Yeah.
and,
My
you
brother.
know,
they don't really have the run defense they need to take on.
Everybody else will be.
They've got a better defense than people expect them to.
Yeah, they do have a better defense than expected,
But
but
now
it's not.
they go from there to
And does
Baltimore,
it suck?
right?
And does it have a harsh
so
way
yeah,
to say
it's
that everybody
okay.
has
So you have
situation?
them,
Yes.
then Baltimore, and
But
then
I believe
and I
that
actually
he-
give
you
them more
and him,
props
I mean, you know, we
on
all
the Browns defense.
Right.
well,
And
So
we
that
do.
being the
it
case,
could be when I hear
is
the fucking call
Obi-Wan
tonight,
a sell high right now?
you know?
Yeah, I think he would be,
When we don't,
especially if he
and we'll be
performs next
angry
week.
when we're
If he
facing it.
performs next
And
week,
you're 2 weeks out of trying to get into the playoffs.
That's
So
fair.
you actually like utilize that player and try to get some bad trade love for him.
yeah, I think that would be her best bet. I mean,
And
especially with
at this
CJ2K
point, we're
not
gonna
showing
be
up the way he
in
is. This kid steps on the
And
field
I just go
with
over, you know,
a
I was
a
like,
decent defense that they played. I mean,
there's
they lost the
no
game, but he
reason
still
why
shows
we
up.
He's not CJ2K this year. I mean,
No, he's not.
He's done
He's
well
done what
in the
he
last. He's done better, I should say. I shouldn't say well. He's done better in the last 3 weeks.
What do you
Literally.
But he's still not to the level he was before. He will
Done what she
he will be arguably
Right.
out of the top
And
5
then
next year.
Oh yeah, he's definitely out of the top 5 next year. I'm having trouble seeing him in the top 10.
Mom died,
If he's in the top 10, he'll be 8 or 9.
and she's like,
I mean,
don't have
All right,
any-
let's go.
So,
Let's
I
jump
need
on
Now,
that.
moving on to the next one, which is the one I actually wanted to see for your boy because it looked good. It was ECL and PK Comics, man. It was a great game. It really was between the two of
Then I would leave.
them.
Because
Cam
she's
Newton
like,
put up
I go
26
down.
points, Crabtree 18 and a half. AP had to leave early, rolled his ankle.
Cam Newton has fallen
And
short
she's
lately.
done
Stepped up this
everything
game, gave him a
that
decent
she
production.
could. Do I know how I
AP
would react?
taken out in the second.
Do you,
If
does anybody
He's
know how
questionable to
they
come back
would
next week.
act if they
That's
were
issues with him, but he's already high enough to where it's has some
sent
issues.
into
But yeah, it was one. It definitely gave him a
Because
shot.
when you
And so
get
going into
sent
Monday
to
night,
this
he's
ALS,
looking at
it's
basically
a
he's got Deion Branch
You might as well
versus,
be in the electric chair.
Gronkowski.
Yeah.
and
that's
Deion
my
Branch. I mean,
brother-in-law,
it's
John's brother, Michael,
pass
you know,
defense, kind of
he's
like
been a
your base
paramedic
defense.
for
It's one of those.
years,
If they find the hole,
and he says
they're going to capitalize on that for the rest of the game. And the hole was
ever.
Gronkowski.
Yep.
They
that
found
I
it.
would
They gave him a
condone
mistake. They played the first
Killing
half
would be
3-0,
LA.
and there was a
ALS.
mistake
Not
made.
because
They
there's
capitalized on Gronkowski, and they just fed him the ball ever.
This
you know.
year
Yeah,
I'm fighting
26
Chance.
points out of
This year I'm
Gronkowski.
fighting
Is what he
ALS.
pulled.
Yeah, 2
Now,
touchdowns, and
and
just
the
like
thing I look at, and it makes me feel bad after
And
seeing
my
it, is Kevin
stepfather
offered me a trade for
has
Garrett Blunt,
offered to do that.
and he wanted Anquan Bolden. And Anquan's actually put up points for me. I can't just let him go.
Yeah, well, he had a good matchup this week. You liked
Yeah.
it. We talked about your matchup last week. You liked his matchup.
Complete denial.
Now, I turned down the trade for Garrett Blunt.
And he's
Now, had I taken
mean,
Garrett Blunt and he took Anquan Bolden,
he's
boy would have won
just-
it. Because Anquan only put up 12
And you know
points.
what? And I told him,
You know, 12 points drops you down to 107.
I
He's
Yeah.
older. It's
I
one of those.
don't
But he had
understand
blown up the week
I
before,
Now-
and there was like some
This-
upside to that.
This is the one thing that I couldn't understand for Kevin is he's got Torrey Smith. He's got the other receiver on the opposite side of Anquan Bolden. Okay? Any tough defense where Anquan is going to be covered, Torrey Smith is gone off the charts. Anquan
Yeah, I'll
was
give you that,
covered,
but
got 1 touchdown for 35
I'll give you
yards.
that. Okay, but here's the thing. Flacco has not been.
Who knows that I would.
You know, we're not Flacco crazy this year.
No.
We're not Wacko Flacco this year.
Push
Okay.
everybody and
What it's come down to is Ray Rice blew up. that game. And
Right.
Ray Rice
31.5
is
points.
still
where she's
the,
kind of like conflicted, where it's like, okay, he's
the dominant
number
force.
one
Yeah.
offensive weapon in that
fucking
team.
everything.
Yes.
Like Bolden, older. He's kind of
And
like
he's
your
threatening and physically.
what's the team that used to actually play? Oh,
And
Colts.
She's done everything. Where do you go from
Yeah.
It was Martin,
That was a team in the
yeah,
NFL,
Martin
wasn't it?
Harrison. They used to be a wide receiver back when
Yeah.
there was actually a quarterback playing for them. But
Yeah.
again, Antoine Bolden used to be a wide receiver when there was a quarterback throwing to them. But they've become a run first team, and Ray Rice as a mad running back
Then
and
why aren't you?
relatively healthy.
Because
healthy.
he's done.
Healthy.
Right. But you got to take
That's hell with
we
vitamin
have to
C.
take
Yes.
that
So,
factor.
but
with the fact that he can actually get the ball, he becomes their number one receiving threat, and basically you utilize Antoine Bolden to stretch the field,
Yeah.
and Ray Rice doesn't become the quarterback
Well,
that he is, which adversely affected Devin in that
Yeah.
game.
Now the thing with it though is
she's been taking emergency.
Baltimore had a tough matchup this week.
It's
and
gotten to the point where
they put
she's
Torrey Smith put up 29 points. Wait, no, they didn't have a tough matchup.
so just it's too
Eh,
hot.
they had a matchup this week.
16-year-old, then
Torrey
she's
Smith
not
put up
old.
29
But
points
it's still
Versus
enough to
Anquan
where
Bolden.
it's like
No,
it
it's
takes
been
a toll.
where
It's
Anquan
affecting
Bolden
her.
does lower numbers.
And I'm
Torrey
like-
Smith has
and
done the
she's
upper
giving
side
me
of
all
it.
these emails
Now,
to
he didn't see
read,
the end
and
zone,
she's like,
but he
"What
had
do you
the
think?"
yardage.
And I'm
He
like,
had the receptions. It was all there. He just
So
didn't make
so
it
Torrey
in.
Smith is your number 2 or flex play
I don't even know.
I'd use him as a flex
at best.
at best.
It's
You know, he's number 2 wide receiver for the team, but he's not the number 1 go-to
I'm
guy.
just saying to get
So he's number 3 overall on the team.
If you're gonna take, okay, let's say you want to play
What if?
there we go. Thank you for like jumping in there because I was gonna like reference something else, but
We're gonna play
what if? What if you have to choose a wide receiver? Would you choose Torrey Smith over Marvin Harrison?
Depending on the matchup, if when like I said, when
We're
Baltimore
going
got
into this week.
Baltimore has San Francisco.
So you take
I think Torrey Smith is going to have better numbers than Anquan Bolden this week going against San Francisco. Because San Francisco is one of the tougher defenses. They're going to worry about Anquan Bolden, who is seeing the end zone. They're not going to want him to see the end zone, but they're not going to see Torrey Smith on the other side because he's not a dominant threat. They're going to pull off of him.
do we know who the Colts play?
The Colts are.
And he's in such denial that he's either going to shoot himself or he's going to kill.
That's a good matchup for whoever defense playing the Colts.
Where
It's awesome.
Indy.
Because at that point,
No one wrote it
Not
down.
right
There
now,
it is.
it wasn't
Carolina
even
and Indy.
You. What are you going to do to me?
Again,
Literally, what are you going to do
So-
to me that's going to be...
So let's move on. We can do what if on another day.
yeah,
So
we're-
I wanna jump onto
there was
DK.
a question about that one. but I won't-
DK, 108.5 points. Phenomenal push against DCL. He had Freeman and Flacco to choose from. He chose Freeman. It was a 4-point swing.
Yeah,
Freeman
and
got him
the
4
quarterback
points,
was
so,
kind of
yeah,
washed.
it was-
I mean, it was
Ray Rice had 31.5 points. Now,
That was
what I
huge for
saw, yeah,
That you can do to me
he had
that's going to get...
yeah, Branch hurt him.
between Deion Branch and was it Fred Davis?
It doesn't matter.
Tight end.
7 points. 7 points. You could have swapped out either one of those guys for Percy Harvin or Jonathan
well,
Stewart.
He picked up
They
Percy
catch the
Harvin,
win.
but Percy Harvin has been
Inside.
floating
So
in that mix of free agents.
Yeah.
No matter what he does.
Up and
His
down,
tight
up and
end,
down.
he started
Oh, yeah.
Fred Davis.
Fred Davis, yeah.
Been doing double digits.
He's
Mhm.
got
And still put up 7 points,
I don't know.
which is not bad for a tight end.
No, I think he put up
three.
You just said he put up 7.
no between Fred Davis and Deion Branch. They had 7
Oh,
total.
okay.
So
And I think actually Fred Davis actually got hurt too.
yeah, he might have.
And Deion Branch was when they realized, like you said, when they realized that was their weakness, that's where they went to.
Yeah.
Deion Branch was obsolete, even to the point Wes Walker didn't even get a look.
Yeah,
until
Wes
the second
Walker
half.
had low points. I got it covered, but yeah, I mean, just one change on either side of the ball,
Sorry, kiddo.
and he would have had his 3 and 8 instead of his 2 and 9. So,
Anymore.
but moving on, we got Road Rash and Annihilators. Mikey, really, what'd you do? Just decide you didn't want to play anymore? I mean, come on. I needed you this week.
And here's the thing: he's actually like set lineups, but it's still nauseating because I'm like, you don't even make adjustments to your team. You're arguably your biggest offensive weapon
Was Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall. And it
Half
was
a
last
point.
week. It is this week.
Half a point is all
And
Brandon
like,
Marshall got.
and like he's getting like averaging more points than your quarterback is.
Willis McGahee, -1.
For love of Pete, you play cards, at least
Yeah,
hit
but
your bats, do
His
something.
entire bench was
Come on,
what,
you're killing me,
5.5
Smalls.
points.
At least act like you want to play.
I know, right? Come on. But yeah, his only big threat was Jabbar Gaffney. 23 points.
So what did Nyla's put up?
109.
109.
109.
109.
That was almost as
I did
bad.
that while making breakfast.
That was almost as bad as me and Brandon. I mean, come on. So yeah. Yeah, what can I say? Palmer, 18.
You know what? And
Bush,
I'm not even
20.
going to get into it, but walking into the next 2 weeks, you have to walk up to Brandon and John in the 2 games that are actually going to cost me a playoff spot. Is the fact
He just cost mine.
the fact that you're laying down in front of them, so you're killing me.
But yeah, Dwayne Bowe and Fitzgerald both put up 11.5 points apiece.
Does she know what he's doing
Dwayne Bowe versus the Pats.
He talked about
I was surprised.
Touchdown.
I was surprised as all get out that Dwayne Bowe put up as many points as he did.
We have no second.
I figured he'd get
He
the
is their
catches,
only
but-
offensive receiving threat. We expected him to go to him. We talked about it last week. He's still a must start against that defense.
She's wasting
Especially if
Coming
they,
for you,
if they
Christine.
get behind, they have to throw the ball. He's the one person to throw the ball to.
Well, then she feels bad. She's leaving
yeah.
him.
I mean, they've got no
49ers
running back. They've got no quarterback. I mean,
49ers D, 22 points. Arguably the number 1 defense in the NFL at this point. Remember the Bears. They're pretty close to the same. I mean,
yeah, although you're really,
like I said, arguably, depending on position wise. Janikowski put her up 8 points, which is about average for a kicker, which is good to see instead of kickers winning the games here. And Jermichael Finley 3.5 points.
he's been hurting.
Yeah, he has.
He's somebody I drafted last year, and I drafted him early because of his expectations with the fact that Aaron Rodgers is still a quarterback. I looked at him as the next Terry Gates.
Yeah.
And the thing is, right now he's in the middle of a system where everybody's getting the ball. Not so much the running backs, but the fact that you look at Greg James as the number 1 wide receiver,
And I am always on your side.
James Jones or James Jones. Yes.
But on the other
Yeah,
hand,
I think so.
Anyways, John's wide receiver has been getting all kinds of mad love, so he's spreading across the board, kind of like the Saints do. And
Are you supposed to stay?
and Jermichael Finley's not getting the love.
He's
still
becoming
there.
invisible.
He's
Yeah,
well, he's not invisible. He's a factor, but I mean,
they catch a
this
shadow.
year,
And
I want to say that this year has arguably the most effective
And that's just
tight ends.
basically where it's
Yeah.
in any year I've ever seen. Because short
Where
of like,
Jason Witten has been the number 1 tight end
you always
year
had,
after
you
year.
had like
He's
Dallas
number
Clark,
4.
Dallas Clark, Jason Witten, Antonio Gates, and then you had the guys that would get you 6 points a game, and then the guys that were just basically you had
Why
one.
are you even here?
But right now, you got I literally almost walked in the last week with Brandon Pettigrew, Antonio Gates, and Kellen Winslow. I literally
2 to 3 man tight end
started
set.
3 tight
Yeah,
ends.
I started out like that this year, and it was good numbers, just wasn't winning numbers for me. I was doing double and triple tight ends.
And not going to give you credit for it, Kevin, but you did draft 3 tight ends. You drafted Tony Gonzalez, who is now her starter. You drafted Gronkowski, who is now arguably the best tight end in the league right now. And you drafted Aaron Hernandez, who Brandon started.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Now, the last matchup, since we're running out of time here, was the Burnham versus Cordo, which, she had Rogers, who's Rogers. He's juggernauting, 30 points. I mean, you can't go wrong there. Then she had V-Jack from San Diego, 28.5. Then she had A.J. Green, big goose egg.
Yeah.
Ballard, 1.5 points. And then her kicker and defense, 12 points combined. 96.5 points out of the Burn, out of a team that's been a powerhouse all season, 140, 160, 130, big wins. And Gordo just, dude, I'm sorry, Welker didn't get the looks he was getting all season. 3 points. MJD, 19 points. That was his best scoring player on both his
At
bench
home.
and
Also
starting.
here too, look at the fact that
Caretaker.
she did.
But
We said that she didn't start Aaron Rodgers, right?
No, she started Rodgers.
And
Okay, she got
I'm
Rodgers.
close to this.
But the fact that
At this point,
58.5 of her
like,
points,
you
over
know,
half of her
yeah, but
points
we
came
knew
from
AJ
two
Green
players.
wasn't starting. So and the fact that she like the fact that she was even like
She
left
even-
him in the mix and still sitting where
was
she's
insulting.
sitting.
Yeah, it was an insult.
I'm all like,
Insult to
it's almost like
But the thing with it is,
she played a Mike.
Gordo,
She played checkbook Mike for all intents and purposes.
Gordo's team, an entire strong team that he's been playing all
He's
season.
balanced. He's balanced.
Yeah, and they just none of his players got the looks. You know, you got Manning, 12 points, who's been doing
And then
20 to 30
Oh,
points.
yeah,
You know,
about 20 points.
MJD put up 19 points. Like I said, the strongest player on his team that week. Welker, 3 points,
Yeah.
where he's been in the
Welker.
30s and 40s
And
all
all
season.
that, they found a hole and went to somebody else.
Yeah, the Vincent
Shenko.
Shenko,
Visante Shenko.
Visante Shenko, Vincent, whatever. 5
VJ
points.
Shenko.
Vijay Shekar.
I remember my dad trying to.
This is not the running back.
This is not the tight end you're actually trying to produce.
So 5 points. Forte put up 9.
What does your dad look like? Your
I can't read my own right. Oh, the law firm, 10.5 points.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you put a law firm in just guilty by association, whatever. You had no one else to put in that spot. But I mean, it gets better. and
Go for
there's
trade.
other options. Oh, I've got trades, and I've actually put one out to.
No,
Since here's a segue, I actually put a trade out to Gordo for. I offered
Fighting for
him
you, brother.
Pettigrew, which is the tight end he needs to replace.
Yeah.
I offered him Kevin Smith, who put up what, like 25, 30 points last week.
Yeah.
In replace
of because they got married when I was in my 20s.
Well, yeah, but
Like Dad is my stepmom.
Detroit's
They got married
Javon Best.
Yeah.
Thank
And I also threw in
She never helped me raise.
Miles Austin, who's not back
She
in
never
the
helped
mix.
raise.
But
But
he's
he comes
coming
back
back.
in. He comes back in
She never fucking
another week.
helped do a
Because back in the
goddamn
playoffs
thing for me, but fucking
for
make my life fucking miserable. She hated
Wes
me
Welker,
from day
who put
one,
up
and I hated her
4 last week.
3 last week.
Look,
And
I'm
then,
like,
yeah,
I
and
got
then the
no
week
love for
before,
that.
38.
I got a
some
little-
change.
I
The week
got a
before
No,
that,
no, no, he had
Zero.
2 bad weeks in a row. But yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he's only
and
been
then
around for 12 years.
Daniel
I got
Thomas,
no
who's
love for
was
that.
my rookie pick, so that's the only reason.
Whatever, I'm just saying.
But I want
I'm just
Wes
saying.
Welker.
He doesn't very well.
Anyway,
But I
just throwing it out there.
I
Holler.
don't-
So
Yeah.
you've got 2 weeks.
I don't never
Play it. We need you to play the spoiler. You got to play spoiler. Make some trades to try to better your team. Find your holdovers for next season. Let's get it done. You've only got 2 weeks to do
Hey,
it.
we're gonna jump back in here for another quick 15 minutes because we got the
Yeah.
matchups going into next week and what you guys are looking at this upcoming Thanksgiving weekend.
So stick around. We'll be back with the matchups, and then we'll run through a list of the NFL schedule coming
Hey,
from this weekend.
We're gonna shout outs to
The Alaska, or what is it? The Anchorage Seawolves.
Seawolves.
Way to go, guys. Thanks for watching.